dang microphone. It must be a Democrat because the thing wouldn't turn on for a moment. They have a little spray can they have to come in here with occasionally, and it's like the gum out you used to put into carburetors in cars to clean it out. It's 6:22. We're on Magic Valley this morning on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. We haven't seen Janice McGeachin in the studio since probably July or August, right?
Yeah, earlier this summer.
I was going to say, we've been on the telephone quite a bit off and on during the course of the campaign. How's the bus tour going? I mean, you're meeting a lot of people and you're getting a lot of feedback, I'm sure.
We are. I think we've been to 50 plus cities and towns around the state, and we're getting to know each other very well on the bus and supporting each other as a Republican team, and seeing really great turnout all across the state. There's a lot of people that are enthused and coming out, and our job is to listen to the concerns of the people in all the different communities across our state. That's the purpose of our tour, and we're hearing a lot of concern from people in Idaho.
Now, you have an opponent who I haven't heard from and probably won't. Not that it's going to break my heart, but I noticed in a debate a couple of weeks ago, she talked about being, this is the latest thing, they're all calling themselves, the Democrats and liberals are calling themselves moderates and saying they're looking for compromise. And it works well because apparently it sells the folks in the newspaper industry, they buy into that, and they're easily fooled, I guess, or gulled. But do you see your opponent as some sort of a moderate in any way?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the people and the groups that have endorsed her campaign, she is not anywhere close to being a moderate. She is a very progressive socialist individual who wants to bring her and her running mate on the gubernatorial ticket. They want to bring a whole new way of government to Idaho that is very different from the traditional values and the solid conservative principles and independent practice that we love so much about Idaho.
I was going to say one area that I know that has really, it has been fairly stark is, you talk about things like gun rights. They're all trying to soft pedal this or claim, well, I support the way that they're trying to massage their support for this to make it sound or appear that they back the Second Amendment. If they were playing Twister, they would have thrown out a hip already.
Well, what I say is I vow to protect our Second Amendment rights, and I will do everything I can for us to be able to defend ourselves. And our Constitution is perfectly written. I support our Constitution the way it's written, and it says that there shall be no restrictions on licensing of firearms and registration of guns. And that's what both my opponent and the gubernatorial candidate are calling for. So my vow is I will protect that value, that right, that inherent right that we as Idahoans, we as Americans have.
Now, a lot of your job is going to be presiding in the Senate, right?
Yes.
And then you're going to be filling in for the governor when the governor happens to be out of state, if there's anything like that comes up. But, you also set a tone as a lieutenant governor. And when you look out and you think, okay, come January, I'm going to be sworn into this job, what do you start by doing? Do you have like a checklist that you're going to be going through of things you're going to do right off the bat?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to refresh the procedures and the rules of the Senate. They're a little different than in the House. And that's a big difference between myself and my opponent. I've had 10 years of experience serving in the legislature. I can hit the ground running come January. I know how to draft solid legislation. I have many friends that still serve in the legislature. So when it comes to advancing and promoting solid, sound, constitutional policy for Idahoans to protect our rights as a sovereign state, I'm the candidate who has the know-how to do that and has the relationships with those that are there now, and working with them and building a solid line of open communication, because that's how I believe is the best path for policy, is building relationships and having good communication within the legislative branch and the executive branch of government. And that's what I really look forward to being able to help contribute in that way.
You can also point out, too, that the way this ticket is built, not a lot of you are coming from eastern Idaho. And so you get a good look every day. We can't really say Idaho Falls is too urban. It looks just like a big town. But you have this mix where you live mainly agricultural. Some of those highways I drive over there where you wind through the fields, it's absolutely beautiful. But you're going to be able to bring a perspective, I guess, to Boise that often isn't necessarily represented near the top levels.
Well, and that's another difference between myself and my opponent is that she comes from the great state of Ada, and I am from Southeast Idaho. And I think that Idahoans deserve to have good, broad perspective representation. And as a team, as we travel around the state and we go into these smaller rural communities, and
Mhm.
I see these hard-working, honest, sincere Idahoans, many of them who are struggling and hurting because some of the more liberal policies of the prior administration and extreme environmentalist groups are working to shut down our rural economies. And these families, they just want to be left alone. They're
Mhm.
hardworking. They don't need the government to take care of things for them. They can take care of themselves, and what some of the industry and work that they've done, their families have done for generations, is at risk today. And so I think that it's really critical that we do have good representation from across the state in the executive branch of government, and that's what I have to offer.
Got about 40 seconds to go. Again, we always like to ask people contact information, web, Facebook,
Y-
and the like.
If you go to Janice for Idaho, that's the easiest. My website will pop up. Please send me a message, Janice for Idaho. I have a Facebook page. We're very active on social media. I ask for your support on November 6th or sooner. You can vote earlier. I'm a solid constitutional conservative. I'm pro-life. I vow to protect your Second Amendment. I vow to protect the sovereignty of the state of Idaho. I vow to make sure that our government remains efficient and serves the taxpayer and the voter of Idaho and respect your hard-earned tax dollars. I'll make sure, being a small business owner like so many others, I'll make sure that the money that is given to operate state government by you, the taxpayer, I will make sure that it is most efficiently operated and we will make the best use of your hard earned effort.
Well, thank Janice McGeachin, a Republican candidate for lieutenant governor, for coming into the studio with us this morning. It's 43 right now at 6:30. We've got local news coming up with our own Benita Baeza. Bill Colley with you on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Brandon Wolf up next. He's running for state controller.